j'ai trouvé qu'elle était pourrie parce qu'il y avait Adrian Zenz. Et d'ailleurs, Adrian Zenz, il est la source unique des informations de nos médias et de nos politiques, des hommes et femmes politiques. Mais Adrian Zenz est un menteur. Adrian Zenz est allé au Xinjiang en 2007. Ça fait 4 ans qu'il n'y est pas allé. Il est allé comme touriste. Il vit aux États-Unis. C'est un évangéliste d'extrême droite. Enfin, cet homme-là n'est pas crédible. Et chaque fois qu'on va vérifier ce qu'il a dit, on s'aperçoit qu'il a menti. Il y a un exemple qui est assez amusant que je donne dans mon livre. Sur Twitter, sur son compte Twitter, il met une photo d'une chaussure et avec cette chaussure, il y a un petit post-it, un petit carton, et où il est écrit en anglais « Au secours, je suis un Ouïghour, je suis emprisonné en Chine, aidez les Ouïghours ». Et cette marque de chaussure-là, elle n'est pas fabriquée en Chine, elle n'est pas fabriquée au Xinjiang, elle est fabriquée au Vietnam. Donc tout ça est faux, tout ça a été inventé. Si on veut chercher des exemples de génocides, on a l'exemple du génocide des Indiens d'Amérique. Il y a eu, pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, 6 millions de Juifs qui ont été tués en Europe par le pouvoir nazi. Et il y avait une volonté affichée par Adolf Hitler de tuer, d'éradiquer les Juifs. Où là, en fait, on a tué, on pense à peu près au moins 10 000 aborigènes qui étaient les premiers habitants de l'Australie. Donc il y a eu là une volonté de génocide. Il y a eu des volontés de génocide. Mais qu'est-ce que je vois qui se passe au Xinjiang? Je vois que la population augmente. Un génocide avec une population qui augmente, ça ne peut pas exister. Entre 1978 et 2018, la population du Xinjiang est passée de 5,5 millions à plus de 12 millions. Ce n'est pas un génocide.
And it was there that I met someone named Omer Kanat, who is the head of the World Uyghur Congress. I immediately got into a conversation with Omer Kanat about a narrative that was forming at that time in 2018 about millions of Uyghurs in so-called concentration camps in the Xinjiang region of Western China. And I asked him where the sources came from for these staggering numbers. And he told me that indeed the World Uyghur Congress, funded by the US government, was supplying many of these testimonies and so-called sources to US media. But I asked, who are your sources? Where do they come from? And Omar Kanat said, well, our sources are Western media and some testimonies we get. So he basically was describing a feedback loop where it was impossible to get to the bottom of these numbers, which are reported as fact, to portray China as a new Nazi Germany in mainstream US media and now on the floor of Congress, where sanctions bills have been passed on the basis of these so-called concentration camps. And when you look at how these sources are quoted, whether it's figures from the World Uyghur Congress or Adrian Zenz, Chinese human rights defenders, there is no background in US media or context on what they actually believe or the fact that the United States government has incubated these organizations and is funding them. It's the same for the stories we constantly hear about forced labor in Xinjiang. The sources boil down to primarily the Australian Strategy and Policy Institute, which is funded by the US State Department, the British Foreign Office, and the arms industry, and the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, which is funded by the same exact elements, the arms industry, the US State Department, and other foreign governments.
My talk here, I just wanted to talk about why the Xinjiang narratives matter so much to Western governments right now, particularly the US. China's economy is now set to overtake America's sooner than expected. Resource-rich countries finally have a non-Western option for cooperative partnerships, China, and they're increasingly choosing that option, particularly in America's old stronghold of Latin America, countries who have suffered under the brutality of American government operations for a long time. Chinese telecommunication companies are offering new non-American options, which are, of course, being slandered as having back doors, according to the accusations of a country that has constantly wiretapped the phones of even allied countries. And there's an increasing risk that the renminbi will challenge the US dollar's global hegemony. We can see that with the potential of the digital renminbi and many other international settlements now being done in renminbi, effectively circumventing American sanctions, which are designed to strangle governments and kill its people. Add the context of Xinjiang being the site of Asia's largest oil deposits and the fact that it's a key doorway to China's Belt and Road Initiative, and that it suffered from pre-existing Islamic terrorism problems, the question suddenly becomes, how could you possibly not expect America to take a special interest in Xinjiang?
Is because there are 20 million Uyghurs, and if the CIA has to mount an operation using those Uyghurs, as Erdogan has done in Turkey against Assad, well, the CIA would want to destabilize China. And that would be the best way to do it, to foment unrest and to join with those Uyghurs in pushing the Han Chinese and Beijing from internal places rather than external.